Well, hello there and welcome to the video. So, Resident Evil 9 got announced last night at Games Fest 2025. It's been a long time coming and it's finally been teased, and we have an official release date for the title. It is February 27th of next year, 2026. Now, I've been a long time fan of Resident Evil ever since 1997, since the second game came out. I missed the first game, but I went back and played it once I'd played Resident Evil 2 and absolutely loved the Resident Evil series. And it's gone from strength to strength. It's faltered a few times. Certainly with the release of Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, it sort of veered off the path of survival horror. But it was brought back to its roots in recent years. Now, next year is the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil, and I cannot believe it's been 30 years. And there's been a lot of supposed leaks and rumours that have come out, particularly from Dust Golem, who has stated that this is the first open world Resident Evil title. Now, I'm prefacing this video with that in mind because I've got a few sort of theories that I wanted to share with you. Now, the trailer itself I thought was really good. It was sort of on par with the Resident Evil 2 remake announcement trailer. It reveals that one of the game's characters is going to be Grace Ashcroft. That's the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from the Outbreak games. The Outbreak games are now considered canon, which is absolutely fantastic. And she's working with the FBI, and it's revealed that her mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, from the Outbreak series, was murdered 8 years prior. Now, that's interesting that they've actually killed off a Resident Evil character, no matter how small they are, from quite a popular game from the early 2000s. I found that quite interesting. What happened next absolutely blew my mind. And I've seen mixed reactions about this, but it appears as if we are going back to Raccoon City, albeit a somewhat totaled Raccoon City. There's a lot of people doing a deep analysis on the trailer and showing loads of things that maybe others have missed. But my personal opinion on things like this is they're only ever going to release what they want you to see, because it causes a decent amount of speculation and it raises the profile of the game and certainly gets the hype train going, and I've got no issues with that whatsoever. But I'm not going to do a deep analysis on this trailer. I'm just going to give you a few thoughts and perhaps a few theories on what we could expect from this latest Resident Evil title. Now, I mentioned earlier on in the video it was rumoured that it's going to be open world. I like that concept in context of it being Raccoon City that's the open world. And at the end, the gentleman who was hosting the event, he said that it's going to not just be survival horror, it's going to be action. And alarm bells went off in my head and I went back to the trauma that was Resident Evil 6. Now, like it or not, a lot of Resident Evil fans think it veered too far off the path of survival horror, which I tend to agree with. However, if you put together the idea of an open world and a decimated, destroyed Raccoon City, I think that's got real potential. You see, if it is an open world, then much in the same way that The Last of Us 2 had a small open world section, which, you know, I don't like that game personally, but it was a great little section that took roughly about 2 hours to complete, and it wasn't very big. Now, if you bump that up, if you increase that in size and scale, we could potentially be having an open world Resident Evil title set in Raccoon City, albeit a decimated one. So when you're outside in the streets, it could be generally action. And then as you go from location to location and you go inside, say, you know, back inside the RPD, for example, that's where the horror could start, and that's where the horror elements could start to feed through. And I'd be completely open for that. They've only sort of revealed one character, being Grace Ashcroft. However, further leaks have suggested that Leon is in this game. And again, I think that's fantastic for the 30th anniversary, for Leon to be in this title. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic for years. It could be, we see that Grace has clearly been kidnapped and tied up and perhaps experimented on as well. So it could be a race against time to save her, much in the same way that he did in Resident Evil 4. He could once again be called upon to rescue Grace. But it also leaves the door open for many more characters to enter the game as well, and it's going to hit those nostalgia vibes. Okay, and imagine the potential, imagine the great potential that could come from this. You could have decimated areas of Raccoon City that are both familiar and unfamiliar. If they've managed to intertwine them and connect them all for a grand open world experience, I think that's a fantastic idea, and it really does get me hyped and buzzed for this game. I have spent a good amount of time being genuinely concerned about the direction of Resident Evil 9 through, the various leaks that have come out. And I take the leaks with a pinch of salt. Dutch Gollum is certainly a great source, and he has been accurate to quite a shocking degree. But it is possible that Capcom have been leaking false information, throwing people off what's actually going on, because it does create a lot of hype around the game. I'd love an open world Resident Evil. I think it's a grand idea, and some of the clues that were given away just before the trailer started, where again the host says it's a grander project, the scope and scale of which has never been done before in a game of this type, or I'm paraphrasing of course, but there were lots of clues to begin with. Obviously at the state of play previously, they've announced that Resident Evil 2, the original PlayStation version, and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original PlayStation version, will be coming to PlayStation Plus, or PlayStation Plus Library. Two of my favourite games. I mean, this is all Resident Evil 2 here. I'm collecting as many different versions of the game as I can. I absolutely love Resident Evil 2, and I streamed it on my channel. With them doing that, it's essentially the Raccoon City collection. Okay, it is very possible that we could be getting a fully integrated, fully connected version of Raccoon City that we can freely explore, and that fills me with a lot of joy. Now, I understand that some individuals may not want to revisit Raccoon City because it has been done, but if you really think about it, Raccoon City, in terms of the main numbered titles, hasn't been broached in a long time. Since 1997, 1998, we haven't really been in Raccoon City in a main numbered title, because Resident Evil 4 set in Europe, and Resident Evil 5 in Africa, Resident Evil 6 in various different places, China, and then Resident Evil 7 Louisiana, and then Resident Evil 8, off the top of my head I can't actually remember where that is, but not counting of course the remakes. So I think for the 30th anniversary, I think this is a fantastic direction to go. I'm really excited for the game. I think it looks really impressive from what I've seen from this little release. I'm not overly keen on them potentially killing off characters. I love these characters, I grew up with these characters, and I'd like them to remain part of Resident Evil. I don't want to see anyone killed off unnecessarily. However, with Resident Evil 8, they did tease that Chris was a bad guy, and B, could die. So it's still early days. There's more to come in August. There's going to be some playable segments for people who are lucky enough to play the game, which leads me to my final point, which is my main concern when it comes to games, because games are only as good as their gameplay mechanics, and Capcom haven't really let us down an awful lot in recent years. I am a little bit concerned about the gameplay. Because it's unknown. I don't know what it's going to be. I can only look at the leaks, and again I try not to pay too much attention to the leaks, but everything's pointing towards an open world, and that's the point I made earlier. But I am concerned about the gameplay. The gameplay has to be spot on. It's no good making a high quality title like this that looks visually stunning. I mean, look at it, it looks fantastic, if the gameplay is no good. So that will be my next concern. But we will find out in August, and on February 27th 2026, you can bet your bottom dollar that this YouTuber will be live streaming that game on this channel. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait for this new experience. I'm looking forward to them celebrating the 30-year anniversary in more ways than have been shown. What I'd personally like to see is a seamless HD remake of the original 3 titles. Been playing seamless HD version on my channel absolutely fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It plays so well. I'd like to see that option for consoles. Maybe an official Capcom release would be great for that. Also, there's a possibility we could be getting a remake of the Outbreak files. So yeah, there's lots of potential there, lots of possibilities. I really was impressed with what I was seeing. I was going to stream the Games Fest, but I was doing my other internet show, which is an evening in 10th order over on my other channel. So feel free to check that out. Shameless plug, I know. But that's all I've got really for this video. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another. I'll see you out there on live streaming. Until then, it's bye-bye for now.